Hey everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we have the Hollywood Rack's Destination E electric bike rack, and we'll take a look at how it fits our 2022 Mazda CX-9. So the Destination E is really designed for those heavy electric bikes, but it can also work with other bikes of different shapes and sizes. Now we are going to focus on our Mazda CX-9 here just to see how well it fits with this car. I think it's like a medium to okay fit because of our ground clearance. The ramp this comes with does come in handy with those 70-pound bikes, and we do have clearance for our hatch, but it also has a little bit of extra effort to get to those features. So that feature that I mentioned was the tilt away feature. The extra steps it takes here is behind the bike rack there is a knob. You're going to have to turn that knob loose enough to push it out and away from the rack's bracket. And once that's pushed out, you can then use the back of your vehicle as a brace as you push this bike rack outwards, and then it drops down to a kind of a tilt, but it's a very deep tilt. This now gives you access into your hatch. Look at that space between your door and your bike rack. You can now reach in there, get your waters, your helmets, your backpacks, maybe even switch out your shoes if you want without having to take those heavy bikes off. So yes, it does take a little bit more time to get this rack tilted away, but on the other hand, you're not in the danger of getting hit by the bikes as they come down. So to bring this back up, you just lift back up, you push that lever back into place, and then you tighten down that knob. With that secure, let's talk about what types of bikes you can carry with this. Well, this does have a weight capacity of 70 pounds per bike, which is pretty impressive, more than the usual 60-pound electric bike capacity. You also have multiple touch points. So for the frame mount, that can be moved around pretty much anywhere, but there's going to be a lot of wheel straps. 3, so 2 for the front and 1 for the back. When you want to take the bike off, you start at that wheel strap, which is actually accessible from behind the bike where you have more space. So press the lever and lift the strap up. What I like to do is I then pivot it out of the way so it doesn't get caught up in the spokes. So we'll do the same for the other 2 straps. This has those extra straps because it's designed for that extra weight, but also that extreme tilt. Notice the length of the strap too. That's because this can fit tire sizes of up to 4.5 inches. So 1, 2, and 3 straps. Before we go for the frame mount, we're going to set up the ramp that is included with this rack. So unfortunately, the ramp is not secured on the rack, unlike the Yakima on-ramp. So if you are using this, please remember to put it inside your vehicle before you leave for your trip. So this only goes on the back cradle. I'll demonstrate here in front to show you how it fits into the tab, and then you now have that stable surface for your bike. Here we have our frame mount. We're going to loosen the knob on the frame mount in order to release the bike. The frame mount is lockable too, which is pretty cool because then you don't need to use a separate cable lock, which you would have to remove once you're driving. With this, you know your bikes are secure even as you drive around and park at a gas station or a parking lot. Okay, with that knob released, we can then push that mount down, and I'll lift this over to the other side so you can see how it ramps down, and now we can go. So that ramp is extendable for different ground clearance. You do see how there's different tire widths on the bike rack, as well as different spots to put your bikes. When the bikes are not on there, I like to just put these straps away so they're not flopping around as we drive around. We're also gonna take this ramp off, make it more compact, and then store it in the vehicle. So you can see how there's a bunch of different extra steps to this rack. If you want something that is quicker and easier, I do recommend taking a look at a dual wheel mount bike rack with a lot of weight capacity, like the Rocky Mounts guide rail instead. What I'm doing here is I'm going to fold this mast down by removing those straps, pushing those levers down, moving this into the down position, levers go back in, and straps go back on to secure them. So this is going to give us hatch access even when the bikes are off without having to tilt the rack away. This also makes it easier for us to fold it up later. So let's talk about quick measurements. So from the bumper to the end of the rack without the mast, this sits at 27.5 inches. So that's a measurement to remember when you're backing into your garage or trying to park into a tight spot. Also, if your bike is loaded on that last cradle, the handlebars will stick further out. Another measurement is ground clearance. So this is important for bike racks that have ramps. End of the rack to the ground, 15 inches. Center of the rack to the ground, 20 inches. So for really tall vehicles, I highly recommend the Destination E with a ramp because those heavier bikes are trickier to lift. With the CX-9, it actually isn't that tall, so the ramp doesn't have to go as far out, which also means that it may be easier for you to lift the bike up and over. So it is up to you and how heavy your bikes are to see if you really do need that ramp or not. I'm going to move this into the portable position. There is a clip holding in a pin, which we are going to remove. Once that pin is out, I am then able to lift the bike up into the portable position. Be mindful of the location of your mounts. There we go. Much better. Now we're going to secure it again with that pin and that clip. While it looks like it comes close, there's actually plenty of clearance here between the rack and the vehicle. And with the pin secure, it's not getting any closer than that. Let's show you some measurements. Bumper to end of rack is gonna be 15 inches. So big difference compared to when this was folded down. You'll want it in this position when you're just driving around town and you're not planning on taking your bikes out just yet. Closest point is gonna be about 3 inches away from the door, and that's going to be the mast of your rack. So living with this bike rack behind you all the time though, notice that with it folded up, yes, you do have visibility of your rear window as well as your taillights, but your license plate, while it does fit in that opening behind the bike rack, still kind of covers it, and your backup camera sits right where that reflector is on your bike rack. So what's going to happen is when you go into reverse, it is mainly going to cover that rear backup camera, but be mindful of if you have that 360-degree view, you'll still be able to utilize that. This does fit into a 2-inch hitch receiver. It does have a lock that secures it, not an anti-rattle bolt, but a pin, so you have a very secure fit from the bike rack with a hitch receiver. If you do not already have a hitch, you can find a custom hitch available for your CX-9 here at etrailer.com. So the bike racks I mentioned throughout this video is that Yakima on-ramp for if you want a bike rack with the ramp included or attached to the rack. The downside with the on-ramp is it doesn't have the same heavy weight capacity as the Destination E. If you want something that's quicker and easier to use, that's going to be the Rocky Mounts guide rail that I mentioned. The downside to the guide rail is it doesn't have as deep of a tilt as a Destination E, and again, not the same weight capacity. It is going to be less. So pros and cons to every bike rack. Hopefully this video helped explain which one might be the best fit for you. But this was a look at the Hollywood Rack's Destination E 2-bike platform rack on the 2022 Mazda CX-9.